Okay, we are live. Hi everyone, welcome to TechMaestro, and today I have the Pancho with me. And in this call, we'll be talking all about, or we'll be decoding everything about system design, or sorry, SD interview at Salesforce. The Pancho is a software engineer, a senior software engineer at Salesforce, and let him introduce himself and tell a bit more about himself. So, the Pancho, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Karan. So, I'm Dipanshu Jain. I'm a senior software engineer in Salesforce for last 3.5 years now. Before that, I was working in with Amazon. Before that, I was in PayU. That's a startup based in Gurgaon. So, in total, I have around 6 years of experience. And so far, I've spent the most of the time in Salesforce. Here I've worked on, here I've been full stack engineer. So I've worked on backend technologies, front end technologies, and all the layers that are involved in software development lifecycle. So yeah, that's pretty much about my development, time. So if you want to know more about my, background, my college, I'll be happy to talk about it.
Sure, sure. We'll definitely get into that once we have question. If there is any question apart from that, we have already attached link to the link, the Pancho's LinkedIn profile in the description. So if somebody wants to reach out or anything, they can check the LinkedIn profile as well. Now, basically, in this video, we want to talk all about Salesforce process from application to interview to expectations in all the different type of rounds, and then preparation stage. So let's start with the very basic and very first question that is there. So, what is the application process at Salesforce?
So yeah, I think the most famous process or like the process by which most of the applicants go into Salesforce is via referral program. So if you know someone at Salesforce who can refer you, so like same happened with me as well. There was a friend who was already working at Salesforce, and I asked him to just I gave him my resume and asked him to apply on a portal. So like that person also has to apply on an internal portal, and then that will go into a queue where HR will be able to see all the applications that are being referred, and then they will scan it, and if they find that your resume is matching the qualification that they are looking for, then they will reach out to you. And yeah, so then the process starts. So mostly this way, and sometimes you will see your LinkedIn connections, posting about upcoming hiring drive. So that also happens at Salesforce. So just do look out for such posts in your connections or on LinkedIn. Generally, you get to see such kind of posts.
Okay, so mainly the most famous ones are to basically go for a referral, reach out for a referral, and secondly, keep a lookout on LinkedIn posts, like if there is a hiring drive or if some team is hiring specifically, so you can reach out to that person for referrals or maybe get to know about the positions. And then if a CV is matched, then basically they proceed with the interview process. Okay, nice. So let's say as a someone, like if I am applying and I got selected, I want to know about the interview process now. So what is the interview process look like for a entry level SD1 or entry level SD1 or a entry level graduate, basically?
Okay, so for me it was second level. So I applied at Salesforce when I had 2 years of experience. So entry level is AMTS, that is Associate Member Technical Staff, and second is MTS. So for me it was MTS, but process is almost similar because for MTS it depends on how many number of experience you have. So I had only two, so they were not expecting me to, like they were not expecting system design rounds with me. So I had one round online coding round, and then I had just 3 rounds in total. Two were DSA, and one was behavioral or managerial round. So similar, I think similar thing will be there for AMTS. So you will be most probably given a link to online round, and then you will have a couple of rounds based on how you are performing in them. So it actually depends on how your interviews are going. It's not like you will have, if you are AMTS, then only 2 rounds will happen or 4 rounds will happen. It actually differs from team to team as well and candidate to candidate.
Okay, understood. Okay. So and how does the process look for a senior level role, like for SD2, maybe SMTS is what it's called, and LMTS? How does
Right,
it
right.
look for
So
those?
level third is called SMTS, that is senior member technical staff, and then LMTS lead, and so on. So obviously for senior roles, DSA is anyway required for every role. Apart from that, rounds like LLD, HLD will come into picture when you are senior, and on the basis of how senior you are, you might be having more than one specific round. For example, you can have two HLD, one LLD if you are LMTS, or two, like three SLD if you are PMTA, something that sort.
Okay. So basically, there can be so along with DSA, there will be design rounds, and the design rounds will
Yes,
be LLD and HLD, both for both senior level, senior MTS and lead MTS, right?
that's right. Mostly. So for SMTS, I have seen that like Salesforce sometimes they just take either HLD or LLD, but sometimes they also take both of them. So it's little bit random. So I don't. I'm not saying if that is a good thing or bad thing, but like companies do whatever works for them best. So at Salesforce, it's kind of little random, the interview process. It's not like other companies that, for example, for Amazon, you have two coding rounds, one HLD, one LLD. So that's not the case with Salesforce. It depends very much on the team and on the the panel that is sitting in those drives. But yeah, on like underlying basic point is that you will have at least a couple of DSA rounds, and then if you're senior, definitely one of HLD or LLD will happen. And
Okay.
if
Okay.
yeah, for SMTS, for LMTS, both will happen most.
Okay, understood. So now we understand like what the application process now, and we understand how does the interview process looks like. So let's dive deeper into the interview process and try to understand the expectations in online round and coding rounds, basically.
Okay, so for online round, I can, I'm not sure how it is happening right now. So I can only tell about my experience. So 3.5 years back, when I was given online question, it was not a regular coding question, which they were looking to compile and run test cases. It was more of a like design kind of round. So I was given a library management problem, something like that. That there is a library, user management, like books management, and as a user, you can request for a book from that library, and if multiple users are, for example, if multiple users are trying to access same book, then you should handle that gracefully and all. So it was just kind of you can say LLD round.
Okay.
On I mean, it obviously it was for MDS, so they were not expecting too complex solution, or a solution which a senior person can come up. It was just like you should have a very basic knowledge of how to deal with these situations. Like for example, you can include that revision number in your solution. I mean, just giving example.
Mhm.
So that was kind of question I got. But I think uh, yeah. So for these days, yeah, actually I remember. So people are getting regular questions as well. Like we have hacker rank rounds, right, where you will be provided one or two questions in online assessment, and you will be judged on the basis of you had TLE or wrong answer in how many test cases.
Okay, understood. So nowadays it's more or less like a normal online assessment which is taken almost everywhere else. For example, like you said, hacker rank, hacker earth kind of test, which is basically a data structure coding round mainly, right? And
That's right.
expectation is a DSA round, coding round basically is my the expectation in DSA round, that technical interview rounds basically.
Okay, so expectation is so the level of the question will be average. It will be not too complex or not too easy. And for example, you can get questions like LRU, right? It's a very standard question, but
Mhm.
you need at least some basic knowledge of data structures and all. So they are pretty doable if you are in touch, if you are doing practice regularly. If you have been persistent and consistent, then you will be able to solve those problems. But yeah, they are doable. They're not too complex, I would say.
Okay, understood. And let's move to the next. Basically, what is the expectations in LLD round?
So LLD round, I've observed that Salesforce ask actually specifically my team asks two type of LLD questions. One is the regular LLD questions that you may encounter, right? For example, a hotel reservation system or tic tac toe or any board game, right? And another one is we sometimes ask questions which is related to the actual work that we have done recently, like some kind of complex refactoring if I have done in some code part, and if I think that is interesting and it will be good to assess on the basis of that problem, like if that is given to some new person, then how will that person handle it? So these are two kind of questions that are asked in LLD. So second one is very ad hoc, and it's like the first one is more frequent, obviously, and then the expectations from that round is that you will you will come up with the right set of questions, like it is similar to the other places, right? So you
Correct.
will ask right questions to the interviewer, understand the requirements, and then you will be asked to draw component diagrams if required and write class diagrams, like define data types, define enums required, and like if you are taking care of the reusability and basically and if you are using inheritance, if that is not required and you are just using inheritance, does that make sense, and things like that.
Basically, OOPS concept, solid principle, and relevant design pattern. Not even overkilling. It has to be a relevant one with a
Yeah,
proper justification.
right. You should be able to justify your design,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
yeah, I mean it's always better to talk, like keep talking to your interviewer rather than doing it by yourself. It's just consider it as is it as a discussion. For example, like in your current company also, how you discuss with your peers on a problem, right? Consider it same. It's just that you will drive that discussion in interview, but feel free to ask as many questions as you want.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay. So now, what are the expectations in high-level design or system design rounds? Basically, design round.
So expectations wise, this is much similar to LLD. So you will have to ask a lot of questions. You will provide a problem statement which is very fuzzy, just in 4 5 words, and then you will have to ask a lot of questions to drill down to a very specific set of requirements that interview is looking for. Uh, you know, and then for example, it may be as simple as design Instagram or Twitter. You know what that is, right? So you will have at least some basic understanding in back of your mind. But it can also be design a monitoring solution. So now it is very vague, right? Like, what is monitoring solution? What does that mean by when interview says that?
Yeah.
So, for example, one solution is like I think in every company there is a process where you can your services can emit metrics, and then on a dashboard you will show to your customers like, how their services are doing. They can monitor their service, so something like that. So you will have to very carefully basically navigate through the problem statement and ask what does interview mean by that, and what are the set of requirements, and then when you are able to drill down to that requirements, then start talking about them, draw component diagrams, draw so first you need to come up with a very high level solution, just to set the context for next half an hour or 45 minutes, that this is what you will talk about, and
Mhm.
then just zoom out and just pick one or two areas and talk about it, and talk about the data model that you will pick for your solution, and a little bit you can talk about how client and server can interact in your application, right? Things like that, and yeah, most important thing is you should be able to tell why are you doing a particular thing in a particular way. For example, if you are going with you are just throwing terms like I will use S3 or any fancy
I'll
non-DB
use
non
MongoDB. I'll use Elasticsearch
yeah,
without
yeah,
reason. Yeah.
no SQL DB. So they can very well ask you the reason, that what is the reason that I should not go with RDB
Makes
select
sense.
this. So
Okay, makes
yeah.
sense. I think this is pretty much uh, all common across everywhere. In fact, this is not just for interview perspective. You should always preach or practice that in your day-to-day life as well as a software engineer, because
Right.
there is not one single solution to any problem. There are multiple solutions, so you should be able to come up with trade-offs. You should be able to think of different approaches and also pick one of them on the basis of current situation and requirements. So I think it makes sense to
That's
add
right.
that as a part of interview process in almost any company, so that if I am interviewer, I am hiring, I should be able to understand that okay, this person is able to survive a day-to-day life of a software engineer. So it makes sense, I think, and you basically summed it up very well as well. Thank you so much for doing that. Okay. Now
Yeah.
we know the expectations, we know the process and the expectations in all the rounds. How does one prepare for coding and a DSA round, like the online assessment and the normal coding round as well?
So I think the kind of preparation will be same for online as well as coding round, because the level of questions will be same.
Hmm.
And yeah, I mean it for so basically you have to practice daily for some time. Like, if you it depends on if you have already scheduled your interview or not. So I hope you will be starting preparing some time back. So on an average, if you have 1 month or 1.5 months, just to make maximum out of that time, and just sit for 1 hour or 2 hours daily to do some coding questions. And as I said, like you don't need to do very hard level questions for Salesforce. So medium level, like lead code medium will be good enough. And so, for example, one is LRU. LRU is a very standard question that is asked as Salesforce, and you can find another such questions on lead code or other such platforms. So yeah, I think just this consistency is the key.
Makes sense. Okay. And how does one prepare for LLD round basically?
So for LLD and HLD, uh, so there are a lot of resources online. You will find free resources on YouTube, and then you will find paid resources as well. Like I'm allowed to name
Yeah,
them.
yeah, definitely. There is
So
no such.
like broke me the system design interview, right? So
Yeah.
I got that for preparing for HLD. So that is a good resource that you can you can have for HLD. uh, because like YouTube also, there are lot of resources, but if you there is time constraint and you want everything to be organized, you can go for such course. But like people like Gaurav Sen, you like everyone must know. So he talks about things like which get used in HLD problems, and I think LLD also. I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, it was a mix of I'm like on internet, whatever I could gather, and from the past interview experiences to understand what kind of questions are being asked, and putting my efforts in that direction.
Okay. So I'll like to add few points here. First of all, about the DSA that Dipanshu mentioned very carefully is like be very consistent. It does not matter where you are. If you want to reach Salesforce or literally any other company, you have to be solving question every single day. Like he said, like do it every single day for an hour or 2 hours, depending on where you are and how quick do you want it, right? So for that, we are already running a 75 days coding challenge. The challenge basically helps you get consistent, because at the beginning of the process it's very hard to be consistent. You need some sort of constant push, motivation, and some rewarding factor. And that challenge gives all of that out of the box. Like you get a community support, you get daily live sessions, you get rewards on completing milestones, and you get a leaderboard. Everything is there in this challenge. So if you are interested, go and check out 75 days coding challenge introduction video on this YouTube channel, or join our Discord community, and you'll get to know about it completely. And secondly, for system design and low level design, like Dipanshu mentioned, there are a lot of free resources. The biggest problem is like there is abundance of information or the data. It's very hard to find the relevant information. So what I've done is I've basically collected all the resources or collated in a structured manner, all the resources for LLD and HLD both, and provided them in a free to use GitHub repository. It's an open source repository. You can check that out. None of the content is mine, but all of them is like collected from a lot of places, like Dipansh mentioned, Gaurav saying, grokking system design. There is a system design primer available on GitHub. There are a lot of good resources available, and it covers that from the very basics till the end. So you can definitely check out the GitHub repository. And while we are at it, if you're still watching the video, please don't forget to click on the subscribe button so that we also get appreciation for all the hard work that we are doing. Okay. So we basically have covered everything from the application process to the interview process to the expectations in the interview rounds in detail, and also the preparation strategy. Now, I'll take a couple of questions before I move on to my own defined questions. So Sandeep is asking, as a fresher, how should I prepare for LLD and HLD? And I don't know anything about these things. So how to apply these things in projects after learning? Very good question.
Okay, so first of all, I don't know what does fresher mean here. So if fresher means entry level, then you won't be asked LLD or HLD questions. If by fresher you mean fresher for Salesforce, I don't know if that is a thing. So
No, fresher
uh,
basically here means a college student, like fourth year
so
graduate. Or just
fresher you won't be assessed on as HLD or LLD as I mentioned. So yeah, don't
okay.
worry about that too much.
So at least for Salesforce, don't worry about it. But in general, if you want to learn HLD and LLD, so LLD is very easy to use it in your day-to-day project as well. So whenever you are coding, make sure that your code is maintainable, extensible, and all. Learn about design pattern and try to implement that design pattern. In fact, almost all the systems you will be able to apply one or the other design pattern for sure. And I'm not talking about the lead code problems. I'm talking about actual project that you will be building, right? For HLD, it's a bit tricky to actually do that because you have to basically use proper backend systems. You have to build all those, but at least for LED, you can definitely try that.
Yeah, so I would like to add one point there. So for HLD, I think, I mean, it's good if you start preparing for that in your early years because it will also help you to do better at your job. You are, because when you are preparing for these things, you are learning something new which you won't in your daily life. And you will definitely see improvements in the way you are thinking and approaching your real life problems in your company. And the one good way to do is, so all these things like reading, like going through some courses or YouTube courses, that is a good thing. But if you have time, for example, as a fresher you have years before you will be assessed on such round. So just start reading blogs, and almost every company have engineering websites like engineering.uber.com, engineering.salesforce.com. So go to their blogs and read about what they are doing, how they are solving complex problems, and just read a lot of articles.
Makes sense. And in fact, I have attached link to a lot of good websites or good blogs, like Dipansh mentioned, like Netflix, Uber, Salesforce, Facebook, Google. All these companies publish their blogs and tell like how did this solve XYZ kind of problem, because it's in their favor as well, right? So you can check that out. You can actually you should read that not just for preparation of HLD, but to become a better software engineer in general as well. Okay. So one more question that we have is: are Salesforce CRM certification necessary for resume getting selected for AMTS role?
Not at all. Even like right now, also I don't have the certification, and this is, yeah. I mean, this is not required. I think this is mostly for the Salesforce developer role. That is a different role that is present in every company. So Salesforce as a platform is a different thing, and a Salesforce developer in a software developer in Salesforce is a different thing. So this is not for regular software development profile.
Okay. So yeah, okay. There is one more question. I tried to learn about few design pattern, but I found a lot of them are similar, like factory pattern, withdrawal pattern. Basically, got confused. So, what is the correct way to understand these things? Very good question, to be honest, Sandeep. So yes.
Yeah. So for this. Actually, yeah, I also tried similar thing when I was in my first year of career. So I just went. There's a YouTube channel by Derek Banas. He he has videos almost about everything, every language. So there is a series with 26 or 25 videos in which he's talking about all the design patterns. So I went through them. It was really interesting, but at the end I forgot all of them, like what exactly a particular design pattern mean and where should I use it. So I think short answer is in short term you cannot get a gist of design pattern. It take years. Actually, I'm not exaggerating. It takes years to understand design patterns, and I mean people with 7 or 8 years experience also, like they don't know like all the exhaustive list of design patterns. So it also depends on how you are applying them in your. I think Karan also mentioned this. So that is very true that you have to apply design patterns in your actual work at your job to better understand them. Just using them for the sake of using them and to impress won't do any good. So yeah, I mean it is good to learn about them and try to just practice them. But I think you will get adept at it when you are actually solving real problem using them.
Makes sense. In fact, to be honest, like Dipanshu mentioned, like even people with 70 years of experience and don't understand each and every pattern. And I will say, I am one of those. I cannot say that I understand each and every pattern, but there once you start working in a company and you'll realize that there are some very important ones, and that is something that you get accustomed very quickly. And as you grow and as you gain experience, you will be able to answer this question yourself. Right now, it's a little hard because, like you mentioned, you are already currently a fresher or a college student. So it's very hard to visualize that in a actual coding scenario. Whereas when you start growing, when you start building things and writing maintainable, in fact, start working in a big team, that's when you'll realize, okay, huh, this is where I can use X, this is where I can use Y. And there is always a top list of design pattern. Like mentioned, factory pattern is definitely one of those. Singleton, factory, adapter, moderator. There are common patterns, and there are few patterns which are rarely used. So you will still have a confusion like which one to use where. So as you
Right.
grow,
And
you'll have much better understanding.
yeah, one more point is that in companies when you start working on things and when you start owning some parts, right? So you will be given opportunities and chance to come up with a design document where you will talk about what exactly. So there is a HLD, LLD. So you will do that in your company also, right? So in LLD you will get a very good chance to come up with different approaches. So there you can think of coming with a smart design pattern and obviously you will get it reviewed by your seniors, so they will also validate it if it is fine or not. So do take advantages of such opportunities and make the most out of them, so that will help you grow.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay. I think that's the questions that we have. So I have one last question for you. Like, can you share your experience as a software engineer at Salesforce?
So far it has been good experience. That's why I've spent 3.5 years. That's the longest time I've spent in any company, and it's so like other companies are customer centric. This one is customer as well as employee centric. So they take care of you and they literally consider you as a family. And every like the overall culture is very good, and it's so I think it's in their process of hiring or onboarding that everyone gets on the same idea that as a manager they take care of you, and if you have any personal problem, like, no question asked, you can take leaves and just discuss with the manager. And with benefit wise also it is very good. You get a lot of benefits, gifts, etc., which everyone likes. And there are so if you talk about work, actually it depends on teams. I think that is true for everywhere. So if you don't like work in a team, then you have a you have an option to change your teams. And yeah, so yeah, pretty much that's about it. But yeah, overall it's a good experience. And let's see
I
how it
think
goes.
the fact that the starter of your answer, like it's a good company because, and that is why I've been here for last 3.5, 4 years. it's a testimonial of the fact that Salesforce is a good company for certain. So makes sense. Okay. Uh, any final piece of advice for the people who are applying, freshers or experienced ones, for who are going to apply or who are already in the process of Salesforce interview?
Yeah, so first and important one is, as I mentioned earlier, is the consistency. So like at times you may feel little exhausted, and you may feel like giving up. That happens in everything, every field, whatever you are trying to do. But if you just have to keep your strong willpower, and just be consistent for some time. And I mean, these kind of things you can do in like one month or 1.5 months, even if you are not in touch for a long time. So it will take you there where you want to go. And apart from that, just make short time goals. So this is what worked for me. So what I used to do is, I won't think about what I'm going to do the next month or what I'm going to do. So it should be not very long, and it should not be very short. So for example, I used to just make plans for one day, that so for example, next 7 days, I'll do I'll do two coding questions, and if I'm senior, then I'll do one HLD or one LLD problem. So this is from my experience. So this is what worked for me. So I used to prepare like this, but set very short term goals, and then it was really helpful for me. So I mean, you can also try that.
Makes sense. I think, in fact, not to steal or not to basically add any advertisement here, I actually made a video exactly on what Dipanshu mentioned. There is a video on the channel. How can you use habit building techniques in succeeding in literally any field? I have given a context of coding, but you can utilize that in literally any field. So you should definitely check that out, and you'll be able to understand and relate scientifically what exactly what Dipanshu just mentioned. Keep small goals, build on top of those goals, keep monitoring, have how to build those habits in a very effective and easy manner. So you can definitely check that out, and it will be useful. I'm pretty certain. It doesn't matter if it is for coding or anything. So that's about it. That's all questions that I had for you, Dipanshu, and the audience also had. And again, thank you so much for joining in and giving us your time and sharing all your experience and information. And again, for all the viewers, if you want to reach out to, if you have any doubt or anything, please reach out to Dipanshu, and he will definitely. He wouldn't mind answering your queries, and if you have any doubt, you can mention that in the comments as well, and we'll try to answer your queries as much as possible. And at last, if you have not done that, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much. See you in the next video. Bye bye.